Okay, guys, we are here again in Professional Writing in English with Professor Ismael Merlos. This is your weekly video in which I will try to explain you a little bit about some details that can help you to improve your writing. So that's why we call this section all the mistakes we make because we don't review our previous classes and continue the same. It's necessary that we change. If we keep making the same mistakes all the time, how are we going to do? We'll never become professional writers. That's why, for advancing, it's necessary that we check some characteristic in the punctuation that we use. Let's start with this. Number one, semicolon joins two independent clauses that are closely related. Remember, independent clauses are sentences that can stand alone because their meaning can be understood without the help of other part, right? So when we have a simple sentence, we have an independent clause. Sometimes we can join these clauses because they are related. There is an information that is mentioned in the next clause that has to do with the first. In that case, we can use the semicolon to join those independent clauses. For example, Nelly played in the team for many years. She scored more goals than anybody. She is Nelly in the team, right? So there is a close relationship between this information in the previous independent clause. That's why the semicolon can be used in this case. But for example, in the other case, we have two independent clauses again, but they are not related in the same way. That's why we can have one of them that ends with a period and we continue with the other idea with its own period. In the case of joining with the semicolon, just the final independent clause has the period in the writing. For example, Nelly played in the team for many years. The team was founded by an important member of the community. So the information about the team here doesn't have relation of Nelly playing in the team. So there are two completely unrelated ideas. So that's why we don't join it with a semicolon. Number two, a dependent clause always needs an independent clause to make sense. If we say when the flowers bloom that he didn't like the party, which is a wind instrument, that doesn't make sense, even though we have a subject and we have a verb. Why? Because dependent clauses by themselves don't have a complete meaning. So we need the independent part in order to complete it. Whether it is an adverbial clause, as when the flowers bloom, spring has just begun, a noun clause that he didn't like the party is obvious, or an adjective clause. The trumpet, which is a wind instrument, takes a short time to be the main. Number three, a series of dependent clauses must be separated with a comma, and the last element must use fanboys. What happens here? Sometimes you use a series, right, of clauses in the same, right, complex sentence. When that happens, each of the clauses, the dependent ones, is considered as a unit. So we separate them with a comma. And the last element or the last thing that we are joining with the conjunction, that's the one that takes the connector, right? The fanboy. Because in the case of the others, right, it's not necessary to say and n. We just use a comma and we use n with the last element. So we can say he knows when he has to be here, what he has to do, and how he has to do it. So parallelism, right, has to do with this element because in each of the parts we have the same elements: subject and verb, subject and verb, subject and verb, and the connector that correspond to the type of clause that is being used here that is dependent. Another example is the president was doubting about how, connector, he, subject, would address verb to the audience. comma, then how, connector, he, subject, would explain, verb, comma. And here we have the fanboy, the coordinating conjunction, joining the final element that has also connector, subject, and verb. That is parallelism, guys. We cannot have one element, right, that doesn't have the same, right, parts when they are being joined by a conjunction. That's why be careful with this element. Well, thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next episode. I hope I can clarify more stuff for you next time. Goodbye.